All right, good morning, everyone. Today we're in lesson 6, and we're going to learn how to simplify these radicals, which will lead us into adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing later in the week. Last week we went over perfect squares and perfect cubes, and hopefully we memorized the perfect squares. So lesson 6, it says to be able to simplify roots, you need to at least know the first 10 perfect squares, and I believe we do, but we're going to list them out. So 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. All right, so just review, what do we mean by perfect squares? I'm going to pick one out. Well, the square root of 36 is 6. That's what makes it a perfect square. The square root of 81 is 9 times 9, which is 9. That's what we mean by perfect square. So the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 16 is 4. Those are our examples from last week. Now what we're going to do now is simplify radicals that are not perfect. Okay, so here's our first example. Square root of 24. Not perfect. There's no perfect square for the square root of 24, but we can still simplify it. First thing we need to do, which is step 1, it says list all the factors of 24. Now don't get factors confused with multiples. Factors are numbers that divide into that number, so evenly. So let's list them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 8, 12, and 24. Now, just a review from last year or earlier in the elementary school, what are factors? Well, there's two numbers that multiply together to get you 24. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Okay, so step 2 in simplifying is find the greatest factor that is a perfect square. Okay, perfect squares are up here where we listed them, the first 10 perfect squares. So find the greatest factor that's a perfect square. So let's go up here and look at our numbers, our factors. 1's a perfect square. Let's see if there's any others. There's a 4, 6 is no, 8 no, 24 no. So 4 is our greatest. Okay, see how it's important to list the factors out so we can find the greatest perfect square, which is 4. Now step 3 says rewrite the problem as a product of two radicals. Product, what is product? It's when you multiply, so don't forget that. When you multiply two numbers, that gives you the product. Okay, so step 3, rewrite the problem as a product of two radicals. Now let's see what that means. Well, up here we said 4 is the greatest perfect square. So what times 4 gives you 24? So we're going to write it as a product. And we're going to put them in the radicals because our 24 is in a radical. So we just took that and split it into two numbers, and that's our product. We're going to multiply those, and if we multiply 4 times 6, we get 24. Step 4, it says simplify the radical that contains the perfect square. Then rewrite the problem as a product of a whole number and a radical. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's go ahead and rewrite it. So let's go back to our example. We can't break that down. 2 and 6. There's no perfect square. We could do 2 and 3, but it'd still give us the 6. We can break this one down. Going back to our perfect squares that we memorized up here, we know that the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm going to take the 2 out. And we cannot break that radical 6 down. So there's our final answer of the square root of 24. So in review, we took the square root of 24, we listed the factors, we found the greatest factor, that's a perfect square, which is 4. We rewrote the problem, kind of broke it down into 4 and 6, that equals 24, and then we took that square root of 4, which is 2, and then rewrote the problem. Okay, so there's example 1. Let's go to example 2. Again, we're going to run through the steps. First step, list the factors. There's a lot of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, and 48. Okay, just a quick note. When you're listing factors and you get halfway, the 24 is halfway from 48, there's not another number. Just go ahead and write the 48. See over here, half of 24 is 12. So the next number would be 24. So you're saving a little time here when you do that little trick. Step 2 is to find the greatest perfect square. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my perfect squares here. And let's go. 1 is there, 4 is there. Let's see, 6, no. 8, no. 12, no. There's a 16. 24, no. 48. So 16 is my greatest perfect square. So I'm going to just write that out. I'm going to abbreviate square. So 16 is my greatest perfect square. Now we have to figure out what times 16 gives us 48. And we're going to write it in the radicals. We're breaking that 48 down. 16 times 3 equals 48. Now we just have to simplify it. We can't break 3 down. We can break 16 down from our perfect squares. There's our simplified form. Now, here's how we're going to do the rest of the page. I'm going to have you solve these questions. And then I'm going to come back and turn the video on, and we will see how you did. Okay, so now you have tried these questions. We're going to break it down. So we're going to go step by step. We're going to list the factors. There's a lot. 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 12, 18, we're almost there, 24, 36 is halfway, so you know 72 is the next one. So those are our factors. There's a lot. Now we have to choose which one is perfect. 1 is, 4 is perfect, 9's perfect, 20, no, 24 is not. 36 is perfect, 6 times 6. So we're going to choose 36 times what? Times 2. This works out pretty good. There's a 6 square root of 2. Okay? Now a question might come up, and we'll probably work this later. If you pick a number that's lower than 36, like choose 4, you're going to have to break it down twice. And we'll go over an example like that probably tomorrow. So let's continue with page 90. There's a lot of factors in this one too, so we're going to list them. 9, 10, 15, 18, 30, 45 is halfway, so the 90 is the last one. Ooh, that's a lot. All right, let's choose the perfect square. There's a no, 6, no, there's a 9. Let's see if there's any others. Okay, so 9 is the only one out of that list. So 9 times what? 9 times 10. 10 can't break down. The 9 can. It's a perfect square. So that's your final answer for the square root of 90. One more. Well, the 175. That's a large number. But the good thing is it doesn't have a lot of factors. So let's list them real quick. 5, 7, 25, 35, 75. And don't forget, let me just review real quick. What are factors? These numbers will divide into 175 evenly. Okay, so that's what the numbers we have that are factors for 175. Let's choose the greatest. 1, 5, 7, 25 is the greatest perfect square. These are not perfect squares, so we're going to go with 25. 25 times 7 gives you 175. 7 doesn't break down, but that 25 is a perfect square. It will break down. Okay, so those are your practice problems. Just in review, first thing we did, yes, we listed the factors. There's a lot of them, but that gave us an easy way to choose the greatest one. So take the time to list them out, and then you can choose the greatest one. Because if you don't choose the highest factor, perfect square, you're going to have to do all this twice. And we will go over that probably tomorrow when that happens. So there are your notes for lesson 6.